I know this sounds bad, but hear me out on this one. It wasn't even a big mountain. Basically, I've been going on hikes alone on weekend mornings while my girlfriend eats pancakes. On Sunday I went to do a peak. That's easy if you're a vet like me, but still takes a few hours. I went early so I could be back for the football game at 1. I could not miss this game. So I woke up early to go, and my girlfriend gets up with me and is like, "Let's do it," and I was like, "What?" She gives me this whole spiel about trying to better herself and her body, which she gives me every year, but I still felt obligated to bring her along. Before I agreed, I made sure she understood that it would be challenging and that I was going to be going at a brisk pace because I needed to be home in time for the game. I told her that if she wanted we could do some lighter hikes later this week so she can ease herself into it, but she insisted she could keep up. But of course, it didn't go that way. She fell behind immediately before the real ascent even began. I offered to turn around and tackle it another time, but she insisted she just needed to adjust to the altitude change. Nope. It took us over 2 hours to get up, and she complained and begged for water the entire time. We got to the top, and I told her we needed to get down faster than we went up because if we didn't I was going to miss kickoff. She got all pissy over that and was like, "Isn't spending time with me more important than the game?" I knew this was bait, so I just said back that I told her the conditions beforehand and it wasn't respectful of her to slow me down like this. Then she got really mad and basically shrieked across the entire peak that I might as well just leave her up there, and I was so angered and embarrassed by her that I did. I told her the descent down was easier and there were plenty of people around to help her if she needed it, and I headed back down the mountain alone. I felt bad, so I waited for her in the car and watched a game on my phone, and she didn't make it down until the fourth quarter, which I pointed out to her as soon as she opened the door. She won't talk to me. I know my actions were hurtful, but her peak freakout had humiliated me and I didn't know what else to do. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. She shouldn't have insisted going with you, even when you told her it was too difficult for her to do in the time you wanted to do it in. You should have absolutely put your foot down or picked an easier hike that she'd have been able to complete in the time. You screw more, though, for leaving an inexperienced hiker on the top of a mountain. You know that accidents can happen. What would you have done if she'd fallen and hurt herself? How long were you going to wait before going to look for her? How would you have found her? You're the idiot. I thought people like you only exist in boomer jokes. If a game is more important to you than your girlfriend, then why do you even keep her around? Reevaluate your life. You sound really selfish and narrow-minded. The worst thing is that you don't even know what is wrong with your behavior based on the words you use. You think she embarrassed you? How do you think she felt when you abandoned her? You can't even imagine how embarrassing your whole act sounded. I hope at least the game was good. You're the idiot. Any person who hikes regularly knows the limit of his friends and how much and fast they can hike on a trail. You abandoned your girlfriend for a football game which could have been watched later. It's not like you were going to the stadium to watch it live in real life. Secondly, you could have altered the plan and cut the hike short when you saw your girlfriend nearing her limit. Most people overestimate their limits when they have no prior experience to hiking, but you could have prevented the whole drama. That's under the assumption, if the story is true, which feels fake as hell. My wife was a physical therapist. As a joke, sometimes instead of saying my back is sore, she'd say my trapezius is sore, or whatever, naming the specific muscle. I think it came from one of her professors in school. I realize it's not the pinnacle of comedy, but I loved her and I thought everything she said was hilarious. She passed 2.5 years ago when she was hit by a drunk driver at age 27. I miss her a lot, but I feel I've done a good job at moving forward in life. Every now and then, I'll make the same joke she used to, if my legs are sore, etc. I've said it a handful of times, no more than 4 or 5 times, to my niece and nephew, my sister's kids. They were young when my wife died, but when I say ow, my biceps femoris is sore, they'll laugh and say something like, "You sound like Auntie Elizabeth." I think it's a relatively innocuous way to keep her memory alive. Anyway, the last time I said to them, my sister freaked out. She said I have to stop living in the past and dredging up my wife's memory, and just because I haven't gotten over my wife's death doesn't mean I should shove my grief down her children's throat. I told her I wouldn't say it in front of her kids if she didn't want me to, but I won't stop saying it altogether. I don't say it more than once every couple of months at maximum anyway, it's not like I say it every day. My sister has been telling people in the family that I need grief counseling desperately, and some of them are agreeing with her, saying that quoting my dead wife is unhealthy. My cousin said I need to let her mannerisms rest in peace. My parents and my wife's parents don't think I'm doing anything wrong. I did try therapy when she first passed, but it didn't seem to help much. I understand that she's gone, I don't believe I'm holding on to her memory in an unhealthy way. But if it makes my sister that uncomfortable to hear the words of my dead wife, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. People are so weird about death. What on earth is wrong with quoting someone who's died? Making jokes that they used to make? What, should we stop quoting Shakespeare? Should we burn every book written by someone after they've died? Your niece and nephew clearly aren't traumatized by being reminded of your wife. In fact, they laugh and enjoy the joke with you. Your sister has a major issue, she's the one that needs to get over herself and go to therapy. My husband of 41 years passed 18 months ago, and I don't know that I will ever recover. People that have never lost a spouse don't understand. My best friend also lost her spouse a year before I did. I didn't fully understand her grief, although I was very respectful of her grief until my husband died 3 feet in front of me, heart attack. And there was nothing I could do. I wish I could tell you it gets better, but a day does not go by that I don't miss him. Sharing a part of your wife that you loved is a wonderful way to remember her. Not the idiot. OP, you have absolute right to keep your wife's memory alive, and this is an absolutely lovely memory. Keeping the memory of loved ones with us is a perfectly healthy thing to do, provided we're moving forward in life. What absolutely concerns me is the way your sister has chosen to speak with you about this. Coming at you full of judgment was absolutely inappropriate and absurdly unkind. If she was concerned, she could have approached you full of concern. OP, keep your wife's memory alive and continue your journey of healing and moving forward in your own way. So this takes place several months ago and is about me, 26, and someone in my former friend group Kelsey, 21. It has nothing to do with breakups and such, just to clarify that, it's about the situation. So I worked with Kelsey and multiple other people at a theme park during college. A few of those people became close friends of mine, which is how I kept in contact with Kelsey after graduating, friend of a friend type situation, and leaving that job. It is worth pointing out that I was aware Kelsey was into me as she asked me out while I was still working there, which I politely rejected. At that time she took it well, or so I thought. That takes us to a few months ago. Kelsey messaged me about wanting to hang out. I responded with sure, sounds fun, who else is coming? And she named a few more people she had supposedly invited, turned out to be untrue. Well, I went to the place she named, and it turned out to be a fancy restaurant. I was expecting a bar or something, which I was way underdressed for, leather jacket, white v-neck, sneakers, and jeans. I was met by Kelsey, who went all out, the whole little black dress, heavy makeup, the whole shebang. Weird but alright. Well, we went inside on her behest, me figuring other people would join us later, and we started chatting, had fun, ordered an appetizer and a drink, the usual. Well, no one showed up. When I asked, she said they must have bailed, so I figured no need to ruin the night. At the end of the night, when we had eaten, we're talking desserts, mains, appetizers, and plenty of drinks at this expensive restaurant. She came clean about this being a date and wanting me to see her in a different light and so on. I rejected it once again. She is a nice and pretty girl, but the whole naive, straight edge, Christian, daddy's girl ordeal. I am a metalhead and into the whole tattoos, piercings, edgy type, you know. She is just not my type. She was really sad about it, and to be honest, it was just awkward and silent, and then the check came and she took no initiative to pay, so I just put my half on the table and said goodbye. Apparently, she had brought no money, was expecting me to pick up the check, which I would have done if it was a date to be fair, and I had ditched her, and it had turned into a whole mess. In my mind, this was her own fault. Did she expect me to pay for a date I did not want in the first place? Regardless, I ended up losing some mutual friends over it and had to migrate my mutual friends who supported me over to a new friend group. So I was wondering whether I was an idiot somehow, and I am missing it. It has bothered me ever since. You are absolutely not the idiot. The way Kelsey went about the evening, lying, manipulating, and practically tricking you into a date, it's appalling. You rejected her once, and yet soon after she tried to appeal to you by way of tricking you. I have a feeling that she lied about not having any money to pay for food either. She had to have known that there was possibility that she'd have to pay for half the meal. You paid for your food and told her goodbye. You did the right thing. There was no ditching. Not the idiot. A dude did this to me in high school, invited me to go see a movie with him and his friends, but when I got there it was just him, and the whole thing was super awkward. If someone has to trick you into a date to get you to go on one with them, they should see that it's already not going to work out. Also, I think it was rude and presumptuous of her to assume you'd pay for a date that she planned and sprung on you. Even if you would have paid for a normal date, she couldn't have known that and shouldn't expect that of you. Not the idiot. She took a chance, which was diluted, but what can you do, and it didn't pan out. How in the world do you leave your house without any money? She may have lied about that part or exaggerated it to make you look like a jerk to your mutual friends. I'm sorry about you losing some friends, but shame on them for not asking you for your side of the story. She invited you on a date under the guise of a group hangout. She should have been prepared with some money in case it didn't pan out how she dreamt it would. My daughter died 6 years ago. She was a freshman in college, and I kept her room exactly how it was the day she left, for whenever she came home. She never had the chance to come back. For the first year after she died, I couldn't bring myself to go into her room. Kept thinking about what could have been. I finally went in on the 1-year anniversary of her death. Now, her room has become a place of remembrance. I go there every time I miss her, which is constantly. I look at her pictures, I touch her clothes, and I read her books in that room. I have nightmares about the way she died, and sometimes I sleep in her bed. It gives me a form of peace, letting me know that, while she was here, she was happy. As you can tell, her room, and keeping the room the way she left it, is extremely important to me. My brother and sister-in-law both lost their jobs due to COVID and are getting evicted at the end of this month. I am their only relative who lives in the same city as them. Everyone else would be at least a 3-hour flight away, and they neither have the money for it nor want to fly because they can't afford a ticket. They're begging me to stay with them. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, one being my room, the other my daughter's. I said I didn't have room, they said I lived in a 2-bedroom, and to let them stay in my daughter's room, and I told them to back off for even suggesting that. They said if I wasn't willing to let them stay when I had available space, I should at least offer to pay their rent. I can barely afford to pay my own rent right now, since keeping this apartment is my largest expense, but also my biggest priority, since I have gotten a pay cut because of COVID. They called me 20 times in one day, so I blocked them. Then they kept messaging me on Facebook, blocked. Emailed, blocked. Messaged me on LinkedIn, blocked. Got other relatives to ask for them, and I told them to mind their own business. Not the idiot. Are you close to your brother? Do you have a good relationship? I'm curious why you show no concern for them. It's your place and you don't have to let them stay, but you seem totally indifferent to them being homeless. I cannot imagine how terrifying it would be to lose my job and my home. If that happened, I know my family would help me. You mentioned that you sometimes sleep in your daughter's room. Why not sleep in there for a bit while your brother and sister-in-law sort themselves out? Not the idiot. Having a place to grieve your daughter and remember her is absolutely sacred, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to lose that by having someone change the room. It's your home, and nobody else has a right to decide what you do with it for their own benefit. The fact that they've hounded you ever since is further proof that they're being entitled idiots over it. Just because they're desperate doesn't give them the right to make demands over a space that holds meaning for you. It's not just a spare room, and they should understand that. Honestly, I just got out of 4 months of hell from letting someone stay in my house temporarily and then refusing to move out because of COVID until I paid them to. We have room, but at a time when we are mostly confined to our house all the time, having someone overbearing and ungrateful in your space is just unbearable. I don't think it was wrong of them to ask, but the way they've persisted shows that you don't want to be stuck with them in a 2-bedroom house indefinitely under any circumstances. Not the idiot. I have a brother who's a big softie. The kind of person who cries at the movies. When we were kids, we went to a county fair and saw a pig that was in poor condition, too fat to move, and ever since then, he hasn't eaten meat. When he moved out of our parents' house, he stopped using eggs and milk too, something about mothers. He's also pretty crafty, and every holiday season, he brings these highly decorated cookies or filled chocolates. Everybody loves them, but we have this one auntie who thinks she's Ron Swanson or something. She'll hem and haw like something's missing, the real version is better, it tasted funny. But I know for a fact she likes them, because she sneaks multiples when my brother leaves the room. This same woman will pester him over dinner, waving forkfuls of meat under his nose and making jabs at his masculinity. Her grousing is so predictable at this point, it's like a holiday tradition. This year, we planned some mischief. Brother made some American sugar cookies, and I pretended they were mine. Auntie absolutely loved them. She went around to everyone at the party singing my praises, saying I should take over the dessert tradition. When I finally told her the truth, she went deadpan and said, "Oh, I thought they tasted off." Her drunk husband just about fell out of his chair laughing at her, and she got really pissed off. Our parents gave us a real dressing down later, but I think we did what we had to get Auntie off his back next year. Not the idiot. I'm curious why your parents were so upset. Have they not seen the way your aunt treats your brother? You'd think they would have stepped in much earlier to nip it in the bud before it escalated to the point where you had to pull a harmless prank to prove a point. Like the whole waving the meat thing and making jabs at his masculinity seems like something that a parent should maybe step in and say is inappropriate. Even if it's a joke, when it happens that often, it's clearly not. You said it's become a holiday tradition, so it clearly happens all the time. Where are they in all of this? Why are they only upset with you guys? Not the idiot. I love this. What an excellent, brilliant, and non-harmful way to teach your aunt a lesson. I applaud you both. That being said, your aunt is the idiot, and your parents are kind of the idiots for siding with the aunt after every harmful thing she said about or done to your brother. Seriously, who waves meat around someone's nose? And what does masculinity have to do with what food you choose to eat? Not the idiot, Auntie is a jerk. She never cares how anyone else feels, like your brother when she harasses him every year. Why don't your parents ever give her a dressing down? That's the thing that kills me. Jerks get to be jerks, and no one says anything, but let someone tell the jerk to stop being a jerk and people tell them they're mean and cruel and rude. It makes no sense to me. Never has. Never will. They'd literally rather have the jerks be jerks than let someone tell them to shut the hell up.